Sir, am I audible? Hello, sir.
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Sir?
Yeah. Yes,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Yes. Shall we start, Avani?
Shall we start, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. Over to you, Pooja.
Thank you, sir. Once Mahatma Gandhi quoted, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. A very good evening, everyone. It is my great honor to welcome the 1 week online capacity building program on the changes of human rights in India from September 2 to 8, 2024. My name is Pooja Lakshmi and I am currently pursuing at Gujarat National Law University and serving as associate at Pro Bono India. Today, we are privileged to hear from a distinguished speaker, Advocate Avani Verma, be discussing the topic expanding horizon protection mechanism of women, children, and transgenders in India. Advocate Avani Ma'am's journey began with her graduation in BB from CCS University in 2000, followed by an LLM from Gujarat University in 2022. Dedication to the field of law evident through her extensive practice experience. For over 2 years, she has been actively involved in legal practice across various district courts and high courts of Delhi. Her hands-on experience is complemented by her current role as a junior research consultant at the National Human Rights Commission, New Delhi. In her role at the NHR, Ma'am has engaged with a wide range of issues pertaining to human rights violations, with a particular focus on challenges for most vulnerable groups in our society, especially. So let's welcome Ma'am, and we are eager to learn from her expertise and experience. The discussion today. Over to you, ma'am.
Uh, Thank you very much for this extensive intro. Uh, Good evening, everyone. So, first of all, I would like to thank Pro Bono India and the Kashmir Law College for providing me with this opportunity. Before beginning with the lecture, I would like to clarify that this topic is quite extensive. Therefore, I have covered on a brief basis with respect to some points. So before beginning, I'm going to share my slide. Just a moment. Okay, is my slide visible to all of you? Any response? Is my slide visible? Okay, okay, thank you. So let's begin with the topic. So our topic for the today is expanding horizons of protection mechanism of women, children, and transgender in India. Now, one second, I'll just see the slide. Right. So in this topic, there are already three different spaces. Number one is women, children is mentioned. Now, first of all, we'll explain the legal framework and protection mechanism. Second, we'll identify the gaps and challenges on expanding and strengthening these mechanisms. Third, we would like to have an active participation from you guys as well, that how we are going to enhance these effectiveness of protective measures. Now, I've already mentioned at the end that what kind of measures that we will look on, but I want an active participation from you people as well, that based on your experiences, based on your knowledge, maybe something you have read, that how you would like to add on to what I have written, or if there is any other clarification that you want to add on to. So let's begin. First, we'll look on to some constitutional measures and Protect and Human Rights Act. So as we all know that Constitution of India has already provided Article 14, 15, 16, 21, 21A, 24, 39, 42, 45, and 51, which covers women, child, and transgender people. Then 14, you all know that it is about right to equality. In 15, especially focus to 15.3, which Article 15, Clause 3, which talks about women and children, that how state can make laws on both of these subjects. Then we have Article 16, we have Article 21, 21A, which is right to education. We have 24, we have 39, where Clause D talks about equal pay for equal work. There is also Clause E and F, which you can look on to. Then we have 51 as fundamental duties. So all of these articles from an inherent part of Constitution of India, which overall covers women, children, and transgender. There are other articles as well. Let's say Article 243T, which talks about in Panchayat we have a special reservation for SC, ST, and women. So apart from that, let's move on to Protection of Human Rights Act. Now, being from NHRC, how NHRC is constituted is mentioned under Section 3, where Constitution of National Human Rights is mentioned. We have also Section 12, where functions of NHRC is defined at how we can review and take actions of frame policies and advisories and all of that. Then Section 13, where powers relating to power relating to inquiries. Then we have Section 21, where Constitution of SHRC is given. We have also Section 30, which talks about human rights court, that any court of session can be framed into a human rights court when and where required. Now let's begin to the three facets that we were talking about. Now the first one is women. I have mentioned few of the laws, including the recent enacted law, which is Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2024.
Sorry for interruption. Are you changing slide or are you still first?
No. It's I am changing slides.
No, it's still on the first slide. I don't know. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So
is
now
it now?
Second. Now it's in third. Constitution of
Third.
Human
Now
Rights.
Third is visible.
Yeah, third visible. That's a
okay.
article.
I'll just do it like this then.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So these were the Constitution of India and articles and the Protection of Human Rights Act that I was talking about. Now moving on to the existing laws that I have mentioned here, especially related to women, where I have mentioned Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2024, IPC, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961. Now we are going to go briefly with only respect to women, not in totality. So first we have the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita Act. Now here I have not put comparison of both the acts, but I have focused on how Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita has especially drawn sections which are specifically focused on women, beginning with chapter 5th, where you can see that of offences against the women and children, which is now from section 63 to 99. We have rape, where age of consent has amended to 18 years under clause D, subclause 6. We have also punishment for rape, section 63, where exception 2 talks about age of consent for marriage women has been increased from 15 to 18 years. The decision of the court, which we all know, Independent Thought versus Union of India, has also conveyed the same thing, but it was not incorporated in IPC. Then we have sexual intercourse by employing deceitful means, etc. This is a new addition to the Act, which is under section 69. We have gang rape, section 70, clause 2, where gang rape below 18 years, this is now has changed. So the next is section under the same section where punishment with death has also included, along with person's natural life. Now, if we go back to IPC, where rape already defined in section 375, punishment for rape under section 376, and where it says that imprisonment for not less than 7 years, life imprisonment depending upon the intensity of the crime. Then there is assault or criminal force. Then there is sexual harassment, which is mentioned under section 354A. Assault or use of criminal force to women with intent to disrobe, mentioned under section 354B. Voyeurism, section 354C. Husband or relative of husband of a woman subjecting her to cruelty, under section 498A. Was gesture or act intended to insult the modesty of a woman, under section 509. Now, some of these sections are already included in BNS. They might have changed their number, but the essence is still there. So it's not much of a change, but what I've added under the BNS section is definitely a change with respect to IPC. Now, moving on to other laws, we have Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, 2005. Now here, section talks about application to magistrates, and how women can approach a magistrate through her complaint and then she can seek relief accordingly. Now, there are also protection orders. Now, a woman can seek protection if she is afflicted with domestic violence under Section 18. Now, court has the power to grant protection orders with respect to that. When it comes to Section 19, which talks about residential order, where women can stay in the shared household, or there is an option that she can be allotted an alternative accommodation depending on her need. Now, if we talk about monetary relief, which is mentioned under Section 20, where woman has a right to seek monetary relief if she can't, if required. Moving on to Section 21, which talks about custody order, where a woman can have a temporary custody of her children, and the court can also limit the visiting hours of the respondent. Next, we have compensation orders under Section 22, where a woman can seek compensation if required. Moving on to sexual harassment of women at workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act, where I have mentioned again few sections, such as Section 4, Constitution of Internal Complaint Committee. Well, a group of not more than 10 people is required to constitute this internal complaints committee among every institution. Moving on to Section 9, which is complaint of sexual harassment, where a woman can simply go and file a complaint against any sexual harassment and approach any committee so that her issue can be resolved. Moving on to Section 19, which is duties of employer. Now, the employer has certain duties with respect to the complaint that she has filed, or if not, then anything that she wanted to convey. So there are some duties which are mentioned there. Then there is penalty for non-compliance, which is mentioned under Section 26, which is more of like includes fines and cancellation of licenses, which means that if you are not complying with the provisions of this act, then some penalty will be imposed on you, and which can be included to fines, or your license can be cancelled. Moving on to the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, where I mentioned 3 sections. Section 3, penalty for giving or taking dowry. Now, it penalizes both giver and the taker, and the penalty may extend to 5 years and a fine of not less than 15,000 rupees, or the amount of the value of such dowry, whichever is more. Section 4, which is penalty for demanding dowry, where punishment on demanding dowry, direct or indirectly, with imprisonment of not less than 6 months and up to 2 years along with the fine. Moving on to Section 8A, where burden of proof is onto the accused in dowry-related cases. Now, we have studied all the laws, but despite all these protective mechanisms present at current moment, we can see this pictorial representation where you can see that still crime is persisting against women. Now, you can see that which state has the highest number of crimes, how the crime is above the national average of overall crime rate, and how that you have still seen in social media and every other platform that one or the other day you'll still face that how women are engaged in crime and like being a victim of crime, and how they have no remedy, how they are forced to end up their life. So all of these things are still persisting. So now we are going to focus on the current gaps and challenges. Let's begin with the current gaps and challenges for women. Now, while there has been a progress in female literacy rate, there's still a problem of access to quality education, especially in the rural area, because that area is somewhere which left untouched. People are still working, but somewhere it still lacks. And the reason it could be early marriages of children, early marriages, especially girl child. Moving on to the next, which is women's participation in the workforce is low. You can see that only 37.0% of the women being part of the labor force as of 2023. This is the recent data. Now, women in India face significant health challenges as well, including high maternal mortality rates and limited access to healthcare services. Issues like malnutrition and anemia are quite prevalent. Next, we have gender-based violence, which we all know that recently I've also heard about the Kolkata case. So gender-based violence is still persisting, including domestic violence, sexual harassment, and trafficking remains a critical issue. Moving on to women's entrepreneurs face significant barriers, including limited access to credit and financial services. As per a recent data, women constitute 22% of over entrepreneurial landscape. So it is quite a less number comparatively to men. Lastly, child marriages and dowry. This is still a persisting issue. In 2022, it has been proposed that the age of women should be increased from 18 to 21 years. But the bill is still pending. However, recently, HP Himachal Pradesh has enacted that act, and they have allowed that a woman's age should be increased from 18 to 21 years. Now, I have stated few key issues with the persisting laws. Whatever laws that I have mentioned, I have here stated what is the existing issue with these laws. Now, let's say if we talk about VNS, which retains the exception stating that sexual acts by a husband with his wife over 18 years are not considered rape. NFH's National Family Health Survey, which reveals that 83% of married women report sexual violence by their husband. Second, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Amendment Act 2021 allows abortion under specific circumstances, but access remains conditional. If we talk about live-in relationships, then they are already protected under Domestic Violence Act 2005. The registrar will maintain public records and have the authority to inquire into these relationships. Notably, the code requires informing parents if either partner is under 21 despite the marriage age requirement being 18 for girls, which raises question about the autonomy of young women. You can also see that all these laws are somewhere curbing the rights of a woman. They are actually binding them under these laws, and they cannot express them freely. Now, how can we enhance protection mechanism for women in India? Now, at NHRC, we have recently have issued an advisory for the protection of women of human rights of widows. Now, we have advised for a creation of centralized database for all government-run homes for widows to ensure transparency and accessibility. We have also deployment of teams at the district level to monitor living condition in shelter homes, including health, recreational, and skill development facilities. Implementation of a single window system to ensure widows receive the benefits of welfare scheme efficiently. Provision of legal aid to ensure widows can claim their legal rights, including property succession. Ensuring healthcare accessibility, affordability, and availability for widows. Provision of mental health services to address the emotional and psychological needs of widows. These are some of the main points of these advisories. Apart from that, we also have core group meeting recently on missing women and girls in India, where we discussed that how we can improve that particular area. Recently we have also issued advisory for the protection and rehabilitation of impoverished, uneducated children, women, and differently able individuals engaged in begging. Now, this particular advisory I have personally worked with along with my colleagues. And we have focused on creating system-based data, focusing on education and being sensitized and providing sensitization for women. So all of these are some points which are related to this advisory. Now, this is something which is done by me or along with me in NHRC. But apart from that, what are some other suggestions that I wanted to put on, and I want you guys to also suggest some measures if you come across or if you think while having this discussion. Now, some other measures, for instance, enact comprehensive legislation to prohibit gender-based pay discrimination, revise labor laws, because I think, especially at this point, especially with related to contractual employees, I think recently Supreme Court has also said that maternity leave should be provided to even contractual employees, where this is somewhere not implemented to at a mass level. So I think labor law should be revised, especially for a woman when it comes to maternity leave. Ensure stricter enforcement and establish monitoring authority on fast-track courts dedicated to handling cases of violence against women. Implement targeted intervention to address the specific challenges faced by women in accessing education and skill development. enforce equal pay for equal work to ensure women have the same economic opportunities as men, design and implement programs with a gender-sensitive approach to address the unique needs of women, conduct long-term impact assessment of existing interventions and policies aimed at protecting women's right to guide future interventions and resource allocation. Now, this is all was about women. Now we'll move on to children. So, children has also being covered under 3 to 5 laws, which I've mentioned here, obviously including Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, IPC, the protection of children from sexual offences, the juvenile justice, and right to education. Now, again, we'll move on to the recent law, which is the BNS, where, as I earlier stated, that chapter 5 added, and it is with respect to children as well. Now, section 95, which is very new, which is hiring, employee, or engaging a child to commit an offense. Section 137, which is kidnapping. Now, under this section, they have made an amendment that they have said that kidnapping of all children below 18 years of age is an offense. Under section 141, importation of girl or boy from foreign country, India, any girl under the age of 21 years or any boy under the age of 18 years. These are the changes that are brought by the BNS 2024. Now, with respect to IPC. IPC, which has already given a defense under section 82, act of a child under 7 years of age is not an offense. Section 83, which is act of a child above 7 and under 12 years of immature understanding. Section 363, which states kidnapping, addresses the offense of kidnapping, including the abduction of minors under the age of 16 for males and 18 for females. Section 366A, which states procuration of minor girls. Section 372, which talks about selling minor for purpose of prostitution. And Section 376AB, punishment for rape women under 12 years of age. Now, in BNS, basically, they have incorporated Section 376AB and others in Section 144. So they have clubbed, I think, these few sections. So moving on to other laws, which is POCSO and JJ Act. In POCSO, they have penetrative sexual assault mentioned under Section 3. They have aggravated penetrative sexual assault, which is mentioned as Section 5. Sexual assault, Section 7. Aggravated sexual assault, Section 9. Sexual harassment of a child under Section 11. Use of child for pornographic purposes, Section 13. Reporting of offense, Section 19. Special courts, which are mentioned under Section 28. And moving on to JJ Act, where JJ board can be established under Section 4. Powers and functions and responsibility of the JJ Act provided in Section 8. We have child welfare committees established in Section 27. Order passed regarding child in need of care and protection under Section 37. Prohibition on disclosure of identity, Section 74. Punishment for cruelty to child, which is mentioned in Section 86. Moving on to the last act, which is the right to education, which is of 2019. Where under Section 3, which talks about right of child to free and compulsory education, which says mandates that every child between the ages of 6 and 14 has the right to free and compulsory education in a neighborhood school. Duties of appropriate government, which is mentioned under Section 8, ensuring access to education, providing infrastructure and maintaining standards in schools. Section 12, reservation of seats in private schools, requires private schools to reserve 25% of seats for children from economically weaker section and disadvantaged group, ensuring inclusivity in education. Prohibition of holding back and expulsion, Section 16, prohibits the holding back, repeating a grade, or expulsion of a child from school until the completion of elementary education. Prohibition of physical punishment and mental harassment, which is mentioned under Section 17. School Management Committee, which is mentioned under Section 21, mandates the formation of School Management Committee with local representation to monitor the functioning of schools and ensure quality education. Section 24, which states duty of teachers, specifies the duty of teachers, including regular attendance, completing the syllabus, and treating all children with respect. Now, if we move on to again, before the challenges and gaps, we can still see that there's an alarming surge in sexual abuse of children. Crime against children in Indian cities, as you can see, it is mentioned here, it is of 2022. Where they're a victim of urbanization, that how children are still facing issues and they are not safe. They are being manipulated in some activities which they should not be involved with. So there are some of the other challenges with children today. So moving on with that, we'll focus on the current gaps and challenges for children. Now, first of all, we have malnutrition. So according to National Family Health Survey of 2019 to 21, 35.5% of children under 5 years are stunned, low height for age, 19.3% are wasted, low weight for height, and 32.1% are underweight. Next, we have prevalence of child labor. The census 2011 data indicates that 10.1 million children, 5 to 14 years, are engaged in child labor. Despite legal framework, enforcement remains a challenge. Early marriage. Again, the same data shows that 23.3% of women aged 20 to 24 were married before the age of 18. The practice is more common in rural areas compared to urban areas, which brings back to the same discussion that can increasing the age of marriage actually curbs the situation of early marriages. Moving on to child trafficking. According to the NCRB report in 2022 across India, a total of 2,250 cases of human trafficking were registered and 6,036 victims were identified, of which 2,878 were children, including 1,059 girls. Education. There are notable differences visible by age, with 3.9% of 14 years old and 32.6% of 18 years old were not enrolled. Now, moving on to how we will enhance the protection mechanism for children in India. Again, at NHRC, we have issued advisory for protection of the rights of children against production, distribution, and consumption of child sexual abuse material, where key recommendation includes replacing the term child pornography with child sexual abuse material to better reflect the severity of the crime. Need to address legal gaps in existing laws concerning CSAM and suggest amendments to strengthen these laws. Emphasize the importance of training law enforcement officials and provide support to survivors of sexual abuse. Calls for the regulation of internet website and platform to monitor and block CSAM content online. Creating a database of CSAM materials with their hash values to aid in the identification and removal of such content. We have also issued another advisory for protection of the rights of the children in the context of COVID-19. We have recently organized a core group meeting on children as well, and again the begging advisory where children are also included, because we have seen that in our investigation that children, women, and especially elder people, they are being forced to beg on these red lights area. So this is what we have encountered, and this is what we have put in this advisory. All of these advisories are available on the portal, so you can read and enhance your knowledge. Now, there are some other suggestions apart from these. Strengthen the judicial system to address child sexual abuse cases, including establishing some speedy courts and broader victim compensation system. Increase public awareness of acts that constitute child sexual abuse and the gender neutrality of victims. Address loopholes in legal procedures and societal biasness against male offenders to improve conviction rates. Educate parents and children about sexual abuse. Encourage open communication. Establish trust to facilitate disclosure. Expand information share channels and helpline, and build awareness among the general public and children about sexual offenses. Implement policies to curb violence and advance facilities and support coordinated national plans to address violence against children. Educate and empower girls and boys to use their rights, manage risk, and seek help. Increase awareness about sexual offenses committed against gender. Ensure the implementation of legal provisions to protect children from sexual abuse. Now, moving on to the last head, which is the transgender. Here, I have mentioned the Transgender Person Protection of Rights Act and the Transgender Persons Rules 2020. If we talk about the Act, where I have mentioned Section 3, which talks about prohibition of discrimination, where these people cannot be are not allowed to be discriminated against any of the some of the provisions, which let me tell you. Mm, the Act prohibits discrimination against transgender person in areas such as education, employment, healthcare, access to goods, services, and facilities, right to reside, purchase, rent, or otherwise occupy property, access to public services such as public offices and facilities. The next section we have section 4, which is right to self-perceived gender identity, where they're allowed to have preservation for their identity, whether they want to be addressed as male, female, or transgender. Next, we have section 5, which is certificate of identity, which is as clear as that they have to be issued a certificate. A transgender person can apply for a certificate of identity, which is issued by the district magistrate. This certificate formally recognizes the gender identity and can be used to update identity documents. Now, then we have government welfare schemes where government can formulate certain schemes for their welfare. We have also section 11, which is grievance redressal, where there are redressal mechanisms and they can be grievance redressal mechanisms, which is mentioned in the section 11, where institutions and organizations are required to set up internal grievance redressal mechanism to address complaints related to discrimination and harassment against transgender persons. We have also right to residence under section 12. We have National Council for Transgender Persons, which is under section 13. We have healthcare, which is under section 15, and offences and penalties, which I have mentioned, that 6 months to 2 years and fines. Now, under these offences and penalties, there are penalties for the following offences: forced or bonded labor, denial of use of public services, and we also have removal from household or villages, physical, sexual, verbal, emotional, and economic abuse. And these penalties include imprisonment ranging from, as I said, 6 months to 2 years and fine. Now, if we talk about the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Rules 2020, well, these rules are framed on this particular act itself, where they have provided the proper procedures that how you can achieve all what is written in the act. How can you actually go for a certificate, and what is the procedure and what form needs to be filled. So the Transgender Person Protection of Right Rules 2020 are all about this. Now, moving on to the landmark judgment, which is National Legal Service Authority versus Union of India 2012, where the bench constituted A.K. Sikri and K.S. Radhakrishnan, where the fact states that there were 2 writ petitions which were filed to safeguard transgender rights. One was by National Legal Service Authority and the other one was Puja Mata Nasipurji Women Welfare Society. They both were filed in 2012 and 2013 respectively. Now, Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi of Bra also joined the case, arguing that his rights under Article 14 and 21 were being violated. Now, what was the issue? The issue was whether non-recognition of the gender identity of the member of the transgender community led to violation of their rights under Article 14, 15, 16, 19, and 21 of the Constitution. Moving on to what was the decision. Now, the decision states that the court recognized transgender persons as a distinct third gender, affirming their rights under the Constitution. Gender identity was deemed integral to self-determination, dignity, and freedom, with logical gender prioritized over biological gender. Legal recognition of gender identity should not require medical procedure. Now, the court acknowledged the historical discrimination faced by traditional transgender communities in India, such as Hijras and Kotis. Testimonies highlighted the structural and social discrimination in employment, healthcare, and other areas. The court referred to the Yogya Karta principle, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, affirming privacy and dignity rights for transgender individuals. In the absence of specific domestic laws, these international instruments were deemed applicable for protecting transgender rights in India. Now, as I also stated in my first slide, that under Constitution of India, 14, 15, 21, these are the rights that have been protected for transgender community. And here also, you can see 14, 15, and 21, where Article 19 and 21, gender identity was recognized as a function of freedom of expression, privacy, and dignity, essential to the right to life. Articles 14, 15, and 16, discrimination based on sexual orientation of gender identity was ruled to violate the right to equality and non-discriminative based on sex. Now, the court has given some recommendations which are highlighted here. The court directed the state to recognize transgender persons' self-identification and to consider them as socially and educationally backward for reservation. The state was instructed to address health issues, including mental health and sexual health, and to spread public awareness and improve social welfare schemes. The state was also directed to implement these recommendations within 6 months based on the expert committee's findings. Now, moving on to another pictorial representation where you can see that ignore unprotected community. Section 60 to 71 in Chapter 5 of BNS pertains to various types of rape. However, there is no reference to transgender persons. A former state public prosecutor said the news law was curated by the Home Ministry, police, but not lawyers. A trans activist opined that onus is on the government to bring awareness among people, police, and the judiciary about offenses against transgender community. Now, this is a news clipping which I have read just right now. So we all know that despite a law has come up, we have an act of 2019 and rules of 2020, still transgender community has facing some challenges. So we are going to discuss the same. Now, what are the current gaps and challenges for transgender? First, we'll go by education. Transgender individuals face discrimination in schools, leading to high dropout rate and limited access to formal education. For example, according to 2011 census, the literacy rate for transgender individual was 56.1% compared to the national average of 74.04%. About the employment, the absence of third gender category is official records has hindered transgender individual access to government and private sector jobs. This has led to limited job prospects and economic opportunity for the community. If we go about the healthcare, due to their marginalized status and poverty, transgender individuals lack access to adequate healthcare resources, making them susceptible to various diseases. Legal recognition. The legal system in India has been silent on issues related to sex change operations, and there are no specific provisions for the protection of transgender rights. Social stigma and discrimination. Transgender individuals face verbal, physical, and emotional abuse as well as societal rejection and discrimination. For example, they are often stigmatized based on their sexuality or gender identity, leading to isolation and denial of basic rights. Now, for a transgender, the first challenge is that they are not able to come out. The other challenges are after that. But the first challenge for them is that they are not able to express themselves freely and the society will not accept them. So one of the challenges mainly about the social stigma and discrimination against them. Now, there are also some key issues which is related to the 2019 Act, which I have stated here. First, this broad definition fails to clearly distinguish transgender identity from intersex variation. Second, maximum penalty for 2 years for serious crimes like rape and abuse is insufficient. Omit key rights such as marriage, adoption, and pregnancy, missing a comprehensive approach. Impose extensive requirements on the government with uncertain implementation. Inclusion of reservation in education and employment could make the act more effective. So these are some key challenges in the current act, which we discussed just right now. Now moving on to what is the way forward? Now, way forward at NHRC, we have issued advisory to ensure welfare of transgender persons. Now, the objective of the advisory includes treating single transgender child of a deceased government employee or pensioner as an unmarried daughter for the purpose of family pension and other benefits, allowing transgender person to inherit ancestral agricultural land besides the inclusion of third gender in civil services jobs. Free-sex reassignment surgery in government hospital or grant for the same recommended. Provision be made for separate washroom for transgender person in all public places. So these are some of the recommendations that we have given. Now, we have also organized recently a core group meeting on transgender on 28th of 2024. Now, about all these core group meetings, whatever recommendations or whatever things that people have said or the speakers have presented, you can all read it on NHRC website. Then we have also sponsored some research projects related to transgender. Moving on to the other suggestions. In some parts of our country, identification for transgender is still an issue. We all know that identification is still an issue. Therefore, self-identification should be the standard for obtaining assistance and respect from the community. The identification process should be streamlined and clarified to ensure consistency at all levels of government. Revision and changes are required to fully benefit the transgender population, including more direct community consultation and engagement for pursuing economic activity. The transgender cell should be established in collaboration with community members at the state and district level to lead the process. Community consultation should precede the selection of curriculum, training program, or awareness material. Regular consultations between community representative and authorities at the district and state levels are required. A dedicated website should be established for real-time updates on government orders, initiatives, and budget allocation. Consideration should be given to moving the obligation on the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment or creating a separate commission for board that is more gender neutral. The district nodal officer should have at least the position of Chief Executive Officer of Zilla Panchayat to enforce, oversee the procedure. Timely allocation of budget and monitoring of standards are necessary. Government and concerned stakeholders should ensure that transgender should be associated with some self-help groups or their development and growth. So my slide, so this is what I have concluded with. Apart from that, there are also some government policies that have been implemented with respect to all of these cases. Like if we'll talk about women, then there are some government policies which I would like to add what they have formulated. We have Mission Shakti. We have Sakshi One-Stop Center. We have Digital Shakti Campaign, Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. We also have Ujjwala Scheme for women. We have Equal Remuneration Act and other provisions also. And now, if we talk about children, we have also some government schemes which are related to children, which I'll state. Yeah, we have a National Child Labor Project. The scheme aims to rehabilitate child laborers through education and vocational training. We have Integrated Child Protection Scheme. This scheme provides a protective environment for children in difficult circumstances through various services and institutional care. We have Childline 1098, it's the helpline number. We have National Policy for Children 2013. This policy outlines the government commitment to ensuring the rights and protection of children, focusing on survival, health, education, development, and participation. Now, at last, we have some schemes for transgender as well, which I will just mention to you guys. Just a second. So for transgender, we have for let's say Ayushman Bharat, where this health insurance schemes include transgender person, ensuring that they have access to necessary medical treatment. We also have Garima Graha shelter homes for transgender persons, providing safe housing, food, medical care, and recreational facilities. We also have Smile, support for marginalized individuals for livelihood and enterprise, which was launched in BAG 2022. This umbrella scheme aims to provide comprehensive support, including education, skill development, and employment opportunities. I have also discussed the Act, obviously. Then we have National Council for Transgender Person, which is established and to advise and monitor the implementation of policies and programs for transgender community. Now, with this, I would like to end this session with a question that we have all the mechanisms and laws and the schemes which are held by the government, but we are still lacking with some challenges and some gaps, some loopholes, some drawbacks that we need to think upon, that we need to act. We need to have some awareness, some sensitization, so that we can create the society a better place. We should not keep on scrolling our social media accounts and seeing therein that some female is raped, some child is being trafficked, or some boy or even your friend who wants to come out as a transgender, or who is a transgender and he's facing difficulty in having education, or any facility, any medical facility, any healthcare facility. So there's a question that despite all these laws, there's some improvement required from our end, from the society, from the state, from the government, and we need to look upon. So if you guys have any suggestions, any add-on points to whatever I presented, or your own ideas, or whatever you have read, you're free to tell me those. I'll incorporate it, and I'll do something to work on that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this lecture. Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am,
Can I speak, ma'am? Hello.
Sorry.
yes,
Just
you're
a
audible,
moment.
ma'am.
I'll just stop
It's
sharing.
Ruby, ma'am, you're audible.
Stop sharing my slides. Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello.
Ruby, ma'am, would
Hello.
you like?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. 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 I would like to
Yes, you're
interact with
audible,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Your
Okay.
session was extremely awesome and highly commendable. You are working in all areas. I am also same type, working for juveniles, working for transgender, working for trafficking children and women and all that. We are
Sorry for interrupt. Let me tell you, madam is 76-year-old, working for 50 year experience. So over to you. I won't say in detail. Yeah, over to you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Most welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. It is highly commendable that you are into this. And I would just like to say that just since we are working here for long time for these people, but still government should support with these rape cases and all that. It
Right.
is very, no, means
Sorry.
what do you say? There are no words to
No, I
say,
just
it's like crying only. How still government is not thinking on these rape cases? They should give a
yeah.
strict punishment at least, so that no, it is you are setting a precedent that otherwise other will not repeat such incidences. No, recently what happened in Calcutta with that doctor?
Right.
That is what I am saying. I wanted to discuss on that only.
Ma'am, actually, if you're talking about the organization, then I would just like to say that we are not somebody who will take a straightforward action. We are
Yes,
more of an advisory organization, and we keep on working on various issues. So we already have launched, like, since sir has also known that he has come up on our OHD, which was on legal aid. So even though through that we have come up many recommendations, and we have already sent recommendations and everything to the concerned people, and they are the one who are going to act.
yes,
So
ma'am. I am
I
into legal
understand
aid.
your concern.
Yes, I am in council member of that legal aid, Pune.
Right.
Yes, we are
Right.
having programs, for all these people. And
Right.
this time also on 8th, tomorrow we are having International Literacy Day that we
Right.
are planning for. So in that also we consider about transgender people. And
Right.
there is a group which helps them, in every aspect, every aspect.
Yes,
And
yes,
of
ma'am.
course,
Ma'am, even our chairperson recently visited Garima Grays of different places. You can check all of these updates on our website. So we are continuously doing our best, and whatever, like a fellow JRC also accompanied her. So she herself went to all of these places
yes,
recently.
ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am.
no
Thank you so
problem.
much for
Thank you so much,
highlighting
ma'am.
all the areas. Thank you so much. God
Thank
bless. God bless. Thank you.
uh, any suggestions? You,
Yes, Pujala, see that question in the
any
chat
questions
box.
from you guys or any suggestions? Okay, sorry, not opening. One, okay,
Uh,
okay.
uh,
I think Pujala,
this
she is having
is a
problem. What
question.
are the views on the human rights of juvenile delinquents and their conflict with the law?
Can I just, okay, okay. What are the juvenile delinquents and their conflict with law? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't. Can you give me 2 minutes? It's just, I can't move it.
Some comments. Uh, of questions. May I read?
Uh, sorry for this. So, my views on juvenile delinquent and conflict with law. Uh, See, I'll tell you one of the experiences which I had with one of my research fellows. So he usually go in the jails and take interviews of the people when they are going to why they have committed this crime or what was their ideology behind committing this crime. So with him, like it's like you are going to, go there and study what is their psychology. Okay, so then why they have committed a crime. So most of them are under some medicine influence or some drug influence, and most of them they have this kind of mentality which you keep on questioning. So if I talk about juvenile delinquent, other end, they are committing crime out of their free will. So as per my view, I cannot say a straightforward answer because I don't think so. There is a straight jacket formula for it. But if I have to decide, then obviously the circumstances will play a crucial role in deciding what could be the stand. Because as far as amending law is concerned, I think it will be a great challenge. It will be a great challenge, and I I can't even imagine that what can I done because at one point you will see that people who are below 18 years are facing a problem, and at one end you are saying that children who are 18 or even juveniles who are below 18 years uh, they're actually quite grown up and they are taking their own decisions. So it's a quite dilemma for me. Uh, there is another question. Recommendation, ma'am, any improvement?
From Lucas, is it possible extend the role of Human Rights Commission to coordinate with trial courts and understand the real challenges faced getting justice, especially 375 cases?
Sir, actually, if we talk about collaborating, then I don't know about collaboration because what we do is we send advisories. Like recently also we have informed to our advisories to take particular action, and we kept on monitoring that what kind of decisions that they are doing. Like we received ATRs now and there on various issues that we discussed, or even on core group meetings, whatever we send recommendations to them. So if they are sending us an ATR, they are complying with it, then we'll assume that. Otherwise, I don't know about the collaboration, but we'll look upon it. What can be done, we'll talk. But yeah, we can actually send advisories and ask them to comply because as per also the Supreme Court guidelines, we are fully capable of interfering if we have to.
Okay. The question from Nalini madam. So, Are all lawyers are taught this kind of law that what you have discussed, right? So they are not taught compulsory in curriculum. All lawyers law students are required to study, but many law are not being taught what you have discussed. Any light? So I also agree. Lately, for example, transgender or various laws, because we have very yes. Your thought. I won't be saying anything. Your
You
thought.
are
Yes.
saying that we are not taught with the laws that I've discussed in
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Most
law
of the yeah.
curriculum.
Yes, yes.
Uh, Sir, in my opinion, even though when we discuss law, we only are, even in our curriculum, we are made to cover even the five basic laws or the six basic laws, like this criminal law, the civil law, and mostly the international jurisprudence and all those laws. But we are not taught with these laws. I think the reason is that how a law is formulated, that how a law is able to make changes in the society, what is the power of a law. I think whatever guidelines or whatever law will come up will actually be more easy to read. This is just in a vision of that how you will comprehend it. Now, even though when I started law, there were some cases which were brought up, and I was like, what should I do with these laws? What should I do with this case? Because I was not aware that, there is some old person's law is also available, or there is a stamp duty act also available. So I was also like confused कि, sir, ये आपने कहाँ से लिया? ये तो मैंने पढ़ा नहीं है. So I was also something which is, like quite surprised कि अच्छा इसका भी law होता है, अच्छा ये ऐसे भी करते हैं. So this was all my reaction at that moment. But then I think this is what our system has been like this. And personally, I would recommend students to at least go once in a practice, because once you go in a practice, you will know that, what laws you are missing out, what reality you are missing out. And I think those changes or those ideas will then formulate and add on to our curriculum. And even if the laws are not there, what we can do is we can conduct various seminars on upcoming laws, or maybe add on to more teachers, faculties, and make them understand whatever is going around and how they can perceive it and how they can add on to their current legal curriculum, whatever they have. So I agree we do not have, but what we can do is that was all
Yes,
I can think of.
no, that is a problem. Like, I don't know, some maybe faculty from my generation. I'm not old, but my so there is a
Yes,
paper
yes, sir,
called
yes, sir.
Law Relating to Woman and Child. There was a paper, compulsory paper we learned, and now it's a part of
Oh,
this specialization or elective that may go. So there's compulsory paper. There's in I think it was in second year. I did 3 year course. So now it's not there, unfortunately. There are other papers also. Uh, Part of like in some are covered in LLM level, or say maybe like specializations like honor courses are there, subjects are there. So some
right,
like
sir.
constitutions, or they keep trying include this maybe in LLM human rights, or maybe
Yes,
constitutional
sir,
law.
yes,
So they put up paper, but we studied. So those things are there. So sorry, we participant maybe one not law background. So these are the issue challenges. These subjects are not being taught, not part of curriculum. So that's I don't know. We keep learning, but again, you rightly stated, like this kind of
yeah.
small short
It's a
courses.
problem. It's a problem in our, because as soon as you enter in the practical field, you are like completely blank,
True, true.
because you don't know. You
Sure,
don't know that where does these provisions come from? Yeah, how do we perceive the new laws which are coming upon? And you are just blank. There is no other definition to define it.
true, true. So thank you very much, Avni. So I request Mr. Yah Ibrahim to give a for what thanks to our guest. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. At last, on behalf of our organization team, I extend heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speaker for today for sharing her valuable insights with us. Also, thank you, dear participants, for your active participation. And God willing, we will have a next meet tomorrow at the same time. So till then, take care and have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing future events. Thank you.